Well, this is my first lesson for 2025, so Happy New Year. Can never get that enough, right? Happy New Year. We are closing out our 2024 annual theme. Have you forgotten it already? Courage over comfort. And I know based on people's feedback that many were using courage over comfort in their life. So it's wonderful to know that the theme is moving in as and through each one of you. And so we begin with the engaging, embracing, and embodying the divine. And you might ask, why all those E's? We're each on our own spiritual journey. And if you haven't been with us long, you might just be engaging with the ideas of the truth of who you are. And I think of engaging like being a handshake, like being introduced, trying to get the lay of the land, taking a look around, getting comfortable and familiar with engaging. So since 2016, these are all the themes that we have gone through, which sort of blows me away because it means that in May I will be nine years here as your spiritual director. And in October of 2025, 25 years as a minister. Now, as my dad used to say, it's like a roll of toilet paper. The longer it goes, the faster it goes. Dad's laughing. So we are moving into this engaging and embracing the divine, and the engaging being the handshake, the introduction, the let me peek, let me see, let me decide how I want to engage. And then perhaps we move into the embracing, which of course an embracing usually brings up the hug, like once you get comfortable that yes, this is my path, this is who I know who I am. And going back to the alchemy book that we just read, I know who I am, I know how I serve. And so this embracing might be more of joining more activities, being a part of the center, perhaps being a part of the Save a Service team, or even within life itself, these layers work in that how moved are you to step forward into that engaging and embracing. And of course, we move in and out of engaging and embracing. The third one is embodying the divine, which means as one as you. As one as you. When you have the truth embodied, you realize that it's all God, not just what you like, but even what you don't like. God is at the center of everything. Now, of course, we always have our challenges when things are brought up that we don't like, right? I get the picture of, how many of you saw Wicked? The guy who goes dancing through life, very superficial. So the challenges can cause us to move from the superficial into a deeper reflection of what does all this mean? What is the challenge in front of me? What is it trying to teach me? What is the lesson? And we all struggle. We all struggle with something from one time or another. And those challenges and struggles change over time. How do we choose to move forward when we're in those challenges? Now I'm going to say this is why it's really important to be disciplined and have a spiritual practice before the challenges show up. Because it's really hard to have a spiritual practice in the middle of the gook, whatever that is. And hence we build a spiritual practice, we discipline, and I know some people don't like the word discipline, but the truth is that, again, like a muscle, you have to be exercising in order to have the resilience that we need when we need it. And that doesn't happen just like that. We come together in community, and it's important. This is a team sport. so that we can encourage and support one another. And relationships don't just happen. They take time to develop. So how do you choose to move forward when things are challenging you? Some of us like to fight, throw a fit, move into drama, resistance, do it my way. We also, in this fight, might let the outside world dictate how you feel each day, so it's a roller coaster ride. Or some of us may do flight, leave the scene, give up, and the issue remains unresolved, and we're just sort of moving it around. And I should say that sulking diminishes our power. So we're moving from the theme, courage over comfort, into engaging, embracing, and embodying the divine. And I like to say that once you have a spiritual discipline, whatever that is for you, it could be walks in the park where you just contemplate, it could be spiritual mind treatment, it could be meditation, it could be affirmations each morning. There's lots of ways to do spiritual practice. But the key idea is that spiritual practice is like a shock absorber. You're not going to stop from the wheels hitting the bumps, but it's going to be a little softer. And the discipline allows us to move to get comfortable in your own skin. And what does that mean? Who are you in here when you're not letting that out there dictate who you are? When we get comfortable in our own skin, even when we're displeased or uncomfortable, we have a different perception of this is what is. This is what it is. Now the practitioners, Scarlett, if you can show the practitioners did a lesson on the 4 levels of consciousness on September 15th. I really just wanted to reiterate everything the practitioner said. In the to me is victim mode, by me is the control mode, through me is, okay, I understand that life is moving through me, so how do I move with it? Into the as me, understanding that all that is happening is as me in a unity consciousness. So I highly, the next one, Scarlett, next one. Thank you. One more after that. So this is what the thumbnail looks like if you go back into our YouTube and look on for September 15th. The practitioners talked about the 4 levels of consciousness and how we're all moving in from victim mode to control mode to the mode of, okay, it moves through me and then as me. And that's really important for all of us to understand and remind each other about, that we move through these different levels of consciousness once we become familiar with them. So how do you become familiar with them? Again, we come together to support one another. And as we choose to move forward, Scott Wyman did a workshop here last Saturday, and it was a great reminder when he said, we might need the reminder that we do have power. You are powerful. You have power. And I'm not talking about force and pushing against someone's will. I'm talking about natural power. You have power within your body that is running your circulatory system, your digestive system, and all the other systems in your body. You have the power to choose what you want to focus on, where your attention goes. Music has power to move us. Conversation is power to also move us in being seen and being heard. You know, a sailboat uses the wind to maneuver with its sails. So how do we use whatever is happening to move through and with that wind? There's a book by Neville Goddard. He was a metaphysical teacher and author. And he spoke really directly and clearly about the power of imagination, manifestation, and consciousness. The book is called The Law and the Promise, published in 1961. But if you were to read it today, the principles are still very valid. And he speaks to, don't be thinking of what it would like to be peace. Don't think of what you would like to manifest in the world. Instead, think from that state. How do you speak and think from peace? From whatever it is that you are intentionally choosing to communicate or share. And just in case you think you aren't big enough to be powerful, just me, just little old me? What can I do when the world is churning out there? Have you ever had a mosquito bug you? That one horsefly that made it into the house that you sit down and of course it comes near you only when you sit down? The bees are pollinating our fruit trees and our flowers. We are all a part of the oneness and we all have a part to play. Don't discount yourself. So we're here together to lift our consciousness. We're here together to lift our vision. We're here together to practice our faith. And there's one man who inspired the world, not just one, but a man who inspired this world. What's tomorrow? Martin Luther King. So I wanted to honor him. He understood the power of the people. Did he not? And I have to say, did we change things? But are we done? No. That's right. We are all still here for agents of change. And change is always going to happen. We can't resist it. Martin Luther King had a spiritual practice. We all know that, don't we? And how many visions is he still known for today? He was clear. He had a spiritual practice. He knew his intention. He knew how he was to serve. So I chose this one snippet of Dr. Martin Luther King's speech to honor him and his message today. So if you'll please play that, Scarlett.
There's a little song within our breast with words of hope and love. The melody blends as we join hands with faith in God above. Dr. Martin Luther King now tells us of this song.
There's a little song that we sing in our movement down in the South. I don't know if you've heard it, but it has become the theme song. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. Though I join hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing it, we shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. No, before this victory is won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us. Before the victory is won, some of us will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before the victory is won, even some will have to face physical death. But if physical death is the price that some must pay to free their children from a permanent psychological death, then nothing shall be more redemptive. We shall overcome. Before the victory is won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names and dismissed as rabble-rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. And I tell you why. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadows, keeping watch above his own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. And with this faith, we will go out and adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. And we will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope. And this will be a great America. We will be the participants in making it so. And so as I leave you this evening, I say, walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the promised land.
Take a minute to take that in. The power of faith, the power of truth, the power of love, the power of unity. I want to make sure to say, based on some who we may be challenged and disappointed, but again, with that kind of faith, you understand how to use power, not in a form of violence, but in a form of, if we're all lifting our consciousness and we're all engaged with each other, then our whole community is moving together as one. And obviously, I don't need to talk about Martin Luther King and how many hundreds, thousands of people marched and did what they needed to do. And I'm not setting a seed saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just basically saying there have always been challenging times. Don't give up. Don't give in. Remind yourself of who you are. Remind yourself that you have faith. And the things that interconnect what we teach in the Science of Mind philosophy with Dr. King's vision is a beloved community of people interconnected with one another. We lift our consciousness to the as me together by practicing our spiritual, by taking in and doing our spiritual practices. Again, King always had a vision of a world of equality and justice, words to inspire that massive social change. When you can center yourself and think from peace and love, you will be inspired. You will be inspired to speak or to act, whatever that means for you. We use the affirmations, the visualizations, and meditations to center ourselves in the truth of knowing justice, knowing peace, knowing equality, and therefore when we go out in the world, able to speak to that. If you don't, I know when I first came in the doors here back in like 1988 or 89, I remember seeing Dr. Carolyn up here speaking and said to myself, I want to learn to speak like that. And I didn't mean speech. I meant the words that she chose, how she spoke, and the demeanor with which she spoke. I wanted that. But if you've been born and raised in a family that's always cynical or always dysfunctional in some way, you have these little tapes going on. And therefore, again, it requires being in community spiritual practice in order to gain the vocabulary, embrace, embody the truth. Obviously, King showed how to love and be a transformative force. He had faith in his action, again, because he was grounded in his spiritual principles. He believed in non-violence. He had a better vision for the world and continued to speak to those visions and was inspired each time he spoke those. I know, everybody knows I have a dream, but there are many clips and snippets where he's been doing his spiritual practice, and he speaks with clarity and with passion. So our job is to align our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions to the universal truths of the love, unity, and justice, so we can co-create a world that reflects the highest ideals of spirit, lifting all of humanity together. So, again, our community intention is to grow in spiritual awareness, to awaken to our truth, together to rise in that consciousness, and therefore to lift us all. Now, in the bookmark, we move from the book, the alchemy book that kept talking about the upper room, the higher vibration, the greater truth. And we move to, as we think, so we are. The author of the book, as I mentioned earlier, is Ruth Miller, and she's an ordained New Thought minister. So she took James Allen's As a Man Thinketh, Light on Life's Difficulties, and Above Life's Turmoil. Those were 3 books or long essays that James Allen wrote, and she makes them contemporary interpretations, which are very much going to seem familiar to all of you. Remember, New Thought was different than New Thought today. There's actually a conversation going on about this movement that we're in is called New Thought, but is it New Thought anymore? Because people know that meditation is a powerful thing now, even the medicine and scientists are, and many other New Thought beliefs and principles, the quantum physics about how you focus, what you see, you will perceive based on what you believe. So many of the New Thought principles are now just common knowledge for everyone. But this will reinforce science of mind. Again, it is a metaphysical teaching. And I'm going to end with one of the quotes from James Allen. There is no sure way to knowledge, nor better way to help the world than by perfecting one's self. Nor is there any other nobler work or higher science than that of self-perfection. Knowing, embracing, embodying the truth, embodying the divine. So we're going on a journey this year together, demonstrating and sharing with one another how we're engaging, embracing, and embodying the divine. Namaste.